All right, it's some 26 minutes after 7 right here on the AM show. We start our talk definitely with this issue that broke yesterday that everybody's been having a bite on. And I want to start our conversation with this video that triggered this whole incident. Remember, it started with some people storming the Regional Security Coordinating Council of the Ashanti region. And what I will show you in a bit in this video, some members of this group, Delta Force then, a self-styled security force affiliated with the governing NPP, attacking the Ashanti Regional Security Coordinator to physically hound him out of office. Now, following that, we know that some 13 people were arrested and they appeared before court. It was at this place that some other men also stormed the court premises, essentially to release these 13 who were on trial. We would later get to know that these people were also members of the Delta Force. Subsequently, some 8 people were arrested. And it was this 8 that was also put before court, and then yesterday we were told they had been released. We'll bring you that video that started this whole thing later on in this show. But I've got my lawyers seated. I am not a lawyer, so let me leave it to them to start off this conversation for us. Mr. Victor Kojoga Daudu is a private legal practitioner. Good morning to you, sir. Thank you for coming.
It's a pleasure.
Also, Mr. Andrew Ejapa Mensah is a lawyer and member of Parliament for 2nd D. Thank you, Honorable.
Pleasure.
All right. It will be appropriate to start by asking you, Mr. Daudu, if the AG has responded to your bond issue, the beautiful letter that you wrote to them.
No, I'm yet to.
You haven't received a response.
And I'm sure when I receive the information,
you would share it with us?
Also, if the information is for public use, why not?
All right.
We'll give it to the public.
Okay. So let's...
this does not relate to...
No, this does not relate to Muntie.
Oh, no, this is a bond
This is on the bond
I made
issue.
some request for information.
He wrote a love letter to the Attorney General. So.
Much ado about nothing. I hear they've gone to the U.S. Securities and Exchange Commission to lodge a complaint.
Yes.
Okay.
They're dealing with it from all angles.
Well.
Oh, no. You see, this is a thing that information should be made available if the process... There's some seemingly lack of clarity about the process. All everybody wants to know is what actually happened.
All you seeking to do is to play politics because you're surprised that from all the noise that you made about lack of physical space, government's inability to deliver its promises, some ingenuity has gone into the management of the state's finances. And all of a sudden, there's room. And so you're playing politics with it.
No.
We wait to see if they have a point or not.
That is even the very good thing that if the process that had been used for the bond, now there is innovation or creativity, there's innovation or creativity as to how it's done, then let us all know so that we see that this is the creativity in it. Then we can follow that process.
They know
no,
the truth.
We don't know it. So
we wait to see.
We wait to see.
When are you expecting the response, though? Did they tell you?
I've just given a reasonable time. I'm sure they would give me the response soon. And if I get a response, then if I'm satisfied, that will be. If I'm not satisfied, I'll prove.
You added a check to that as well?
Yes, I added a check.
Has it been cashed? Has it reflected in your account?
It's a banker's draft. I haven't checked yet. I haven't checked whether it's been cashed or not.
Okay, so this is not refundable.
No. It's I just took a proactive steps in the sense that if you look at the memorandum to the bill right to information, it talks about some processing fee. The recent judgment in the High Court also talks about some processing fee. So taking clue from these two, and I know also that most of the time, the state will tell you they don't have stationery. You go to some of the departments, and it becomes difficult processing some information.
Okay.
So for all these bottlenecks not to be impediments on the way,
you decided to give them 1,000 Ghana cedis.
You wrote a letter pursuant to a memorandum to a bill.
No. My right under Article 21F.
You mentioned
my right
the
to
memorandum
information.
to the
No,
right
she's
to
asking me
information
why the
bill.
check.
That's why
Why
I'm
the
asking.
check?
No, I don't have a problem.
He added
Yes.
money to it.
I mean,
okay, let's talk
he's a
about.
wealthy man, so he can afford to spend some money.
It's for the cause of public good.
But that's from your personal pocket, though.
Yeah, that definitely.
Okay, all right. Let's talk about Delta Force, and let's start off by me asking how you took this issue as lawyers, not as people from opposing parties. How you took this release. First, with you.
Well, I've had the benefit of reading the letter from the state attorney to the Assistant Commissioner of Police prosecutions and legal and prosecutions, and I find her reasoning, having evaluated the docket that was submitted to her office in Kumasi for advice, to be a sound one, because we all know that the name of the game is proof, evidence. In this particular instance from the letter, apparently the two police officers who volunteered witness statement did not even have the capacity to identify these 8 people as the persons who barged into the court and released these 13 people. So what will be the basis for the state to proceed on a trial that clearly there's no evidence before on the face of the document, the docket, to sustain the charges? So from the legal point of view, I don't see anything wrong at all with the advice that came from the Attorney General's office in Kumasi to the police prosecutions to drop the charges, because there was no proof, and it was going to be an exercise in futility, incurring needless expense if they proceeded with the prosecution of these people who the witnesses could not even identify as the perpetrators of the crime that they had been charged with. So I wonder to what extent that they can, as it were, question the professional integrity and or the basis for the advice that came from the state attorney's office in Kumasi. But then again, you know, these are part of the world. Our brothers think that when you are in opposition, you have to oppose everything.
But in this case, it's not only your brothers on the opposing side.
See,
we've got the Attorney General's office saying they didn't know. We've got the Ghana Bar Association. Unless all these people are all opposing parties.
You see, the thing is this is a matter that is of high public interest. And so the expectation from my understanding of the statement that I read from the Ministry of Information was that any decision that emanated from the office of the Attorney General in Kumasi should have been cleared in Accra. And that to the extent that this action has sought to give ammunition, essentially, to the NDC to, you know, as it were, seek to tie the government into this particular issue, is what I understand the Ministry of Information statement to be condemning. And that to the extent that government had no hand in the decision to drop these charges, of course, the mouthpiece of government had to come out and defend the government.
Mr. Daudu, you have a lot of experience dealing with cases in court. What's I don't know if you ever worked with the Attorney General, but what's the link between that local office in Kumasi, the Attorney General's office, and the one here? Do they, you know, somebody has to say go ahead with a certain decision before they do?
This is a nolli prosequi is a power. It's a statutory
Nobody
power.
has made reference to nolli prosequi.
Oh,
she's asked you a specific
well,
that is no, Master. It is what is there a link? No.
Education is part of it. So let's go ahead.
So she's saying that what is the correlation between the Attorney General in Kumasi and the Attorney General's Department in Accra? Is that not the question?
That's the thing. But you've gone on the tangent of explaining what nolli prosequi is, which is not the issue on the table.
Please, let's allow him. Let's allow him to analyze from the angle he's coming from.
The Attorney General in Kumasi, that's why I'm saying that the power by which you can write a letter to a court and say that you are not going to prosecute the matter again or you are not interested, and on this basis, the reason that is being given is lack of evidence. That power is given to the Attorney General.
But
now, any officer within the Attorney General's department, and that is why Ministry of Information has come in and saying that that power that has been exercised by that officer in Kumasi was not without recourse to the Attorney General who has been granted that power.
I've got a question.
Now, so that power would always have to be signed by Attorney General or its authorized officer. Now, information, the government is saying that she did not do that.
But did the office here not know the case was going to be called yesterday?
That is what. So that is why we even need to look at it. That did she do it on her own volition, without recourse to her superiors? That will have to and there's decisions that no officer from Attorney General's department can even just issue a nolli prosequa. A nolli prosequa is a power that has been granted to Attorney General who will come to court even before judgment or even if judgment is being read. Will come and tell the court that I'm not interested in this matter. I will not prosecute this matter. And you do not need to give any reason why you're not interested in the matter. And that is what the officer in Kumasi sought to do.
That's false.
That there is no evidence, so they cannot prosecute the matter. Even if there is no evidence, what you have to do is to put the matter, let the court look at it, that you'll be able to discharge that duty, or if not, or the prosecution has not discharged that duty. They've not even been put in. The first time they come appearance, you say because of this, we are not even coming prosecuting. And now, the same government, the same Attorney General is saying that you did not seek permission. I was not aware of it.
The director of state prosecution was also unaware.
Was not aware. So where did she get that power to send this note to the police?
What's your theory?
My theory?
What has happened?
What has happened? I believe that that officer will not, because they know, going through the Attorney General, that to give reasons or file nolli prosequa, it comes from the top. You cannot do it. And I know the officer in question, Marie Louise. I know her very well. She's a very diligent person, and I cannot fathom why this would happen when the Attorney General and the Director of Prosecution is saying that they have not. It is a duty imposed on you by the state to prosecute. Whether you do it shabbily or you do a good job or you shirk your responsibility, it is your duty to put the people before and let the judge say that there is lack of evidence. This evidence cannot compel these people.
Mr. Mesa, a lot of people have wondered if where you are coming from with your analysis, if you were in opposition, you'd be speaking the same, if the tables are turned.
Absolutely, because your question was to evaluate the legal perspective with which the lady or the officer had written the letter to the police prosecution, not to the court. The letter that was written by the Attorney General's office in Kumasi was not addressed to the court. It was to the police prosecution after evaluating the docket that had been submitted to her office. It was arising out of that she wrote the letter indicating that from my review of this docket, you cannot succeed in the trial. Clearly, he's vindicating government. And the fact of the matter is that government had no hand whatsoever in the decision that was taken by this officer to advise the police to drop the charges because the evidence before her was insufficient to sustain that charges.
Do you agree, though, that because this case is of a higher
absolutely,
public interest,
that is why government
they
is
should have noted,
yes, absolutely,
at least cross-check
absolutely,
with the.
absolutely.
So you agree that something went wrong here?
Yes, in the Attorney General's office in Kumasi, of course.
So she needs to be fired?
Well,
if that's what you are saying,
the
is that what you are saying?
Information has issued a statement that the Attorney General has advised the ministry that they are going to commence an investigation into the processes which led to her proffering that advice to the police. Of course, if he was above board, clearly, who is going to be fired for doing her job in her professional capacity? Nobody is going to be fired for doing that. But of course, if there was something untoward, and that has played into the hands of the NDC, particularly, to play politics.
How are you linking this? How are you linking this necessarily with the NDC? Because I haven't even brought that in the picture.
Condemning government.
We will get there, but we're not there yet. What I have done, even introducing Mr. Kojoga Adaudu, I said he's a private legal practitioner, and I didn't speak to him in the capacity
you know
as
his,
an NDC person.
His capacity.
Of course I do.
Yeah.
Yes, but I wanted to take it, step by step. So I'm asking all the legal things so that you guys can educate us on that.
So on that score, yeah. I mean, I think that the investigation is welcome. Of course, we were all not happy about the action that these persons, and I've heard people describe them as Delta Force members who
they haven't denied that.
Well,
they're not.
According to the docket, only 2 of them admitted to be members of the Delta Force, and that the rest, the 6 of them, denied any association with the Delta Force.
But they are MPP members?
Well, I'm not. The docket doesn't say, and I'm not in a position to tell whether they are MPP members or not.
Okay.
Because clearly, even the police officers in court have stated that they cannot identify the persons who came into court to set free these 13 people who are.
Your opponents and critics will say that is very much expected. But you've made reference to this statement released by the Information Ministry, so I'd like to read it, after which we will go and listen to the lawyer for these 8 and also listen to a group head of this Delta Force security guys. But first, the statements. The Attorney General's Department is investigating circumstances under which a principal state attorney in Kumasi decided without recourse to advice from higher authority on a matter of high public interest of this nature to drop charges against persons arrested in connection with disturbances in Kumasi in a Kumasi magistrates court in April this year. Preliminary investigation suggests that the decision was taken without recourse even to the Director of Public Prosecution and may amount to a breach of internal procedures on matters of this nature. While the department awaits the full results of this investigation, we would like to reiterate our commitment to ensuring that the rule of law is applied at all times and persons found culpable of any breaches that bring the work and commitment of the department into disrepute will be sanctioned and the appropriate remedies adopted in the interest of the Republic. That's a statement issued by the Information Ministry yesterday on this matter. Now let's go and listen to lawyer for this 8.
We're interested in seeing that our clients are not punished for offenses they didn't commit. We maintained right from the onset that they had not committed any offense, and so we were patient and waited for the prosecution to, if there are any proofs or evidence, and they have concluded that there's no evidence. So it's more of a victory for the rule of law and the justice delivery system, and not necessarily a victory for us.
We are Jumama party, na party na power, na wo form na.
A party in power should be able to punish foot soldiers who flout the law, so others will know that the party works with the rule of law.
Adia NC Fatano, umbe say party no, edimrana ede, eye juma. Ntiye we embu abamu, after na yayi akuma. First na yawo about.
This incident will not make us lose hope. In fact, our number has increased from 4,000 to 7,000 since the incident. The group has gained publicity from this incident, just as people have also realized that our party abides by the law.
More.
And what you say,
oh, near Ebayano. No more no nim say Sene Kuniti and I send MPP Muti, but now no beyond MPP Mudim Rane, a year Juma.
All right, so that's the leader of the group, the Delta Force, right there, talking about how membership of Delta Force has increased. And they've got lots of members now, and they see all this as publicity. Yeah? Okay. So yesterday, the minority in Parliament also addressed the media. I want us to listen to the minority leader, Haruna Idrisu.
We demand, therefore, that the council's discretion that has just been exercised will be reversed immediately, and the accused rearrested and rearranged before court. We do so demanding that justice must be done, and justice must be secured, and justice must be seen being done. I find it very bizarre that the Attorney General, Ms. Gloria Akufu, who assured the entire citizen of her commitment to fairness and strict adherence to ethical principles, will claim that in doing this and exercising this constitutional discretion on grounds merely that there was lack of evidence. Abba, lack of evidence. Even on Facebook, even on Twitter, and those of you who do social media, some evidence is available, and some evidence can be made available, and some evidence can be found. So we are encouraging them to gather good enough evidence. On the face of this action, the Ghanaian public was taken by some surprise. There was outright national condemnation of it, and therefore to say that they are proceeding on nulle prosequa in want of evidence can only be begging the issue and satisfying partisan considerations.
And that's the minority leader, Haruna Idrisu, there. Let me bring the angle of the Ghana Bar Association, and then you can have a say. The Ghana Bar Association says it stands by its demand for the arrest and prosecution of all those involved in the attack on a court in Kumasi, despite yesterday's decision by state prosecutors to drop all charges against the suspect. This morning, top officials from the Attorney General's Department are beginning a probe into why state attorneys in Kumasi dropped the charges against the suspect who attacked the circuit court, threatened the judge, and freed individuals suspected to be members of the pro-NPP group, the Delta Force, on trial for assaulting the Ashanti Region Security Coordinator. Meanwhile, and that's also something that's going to happen later today, 13 members of the Delta Force will reappear before a Kumasi Circuit Courts, and we will come to details of their charges later on. So the Ghana Bar Association obviously condemning this, and a lot of Ghanaians, people that you can't say they are MPP or NDC necessarily, speaking as citizens, also condemning this. If we say there was a mistake with the procedure, something was missed, what does it mean to the judgment of this case?
Well, to the extent that they've not been acquitted, but merely discharged, and there's sufficient evidence to, as it were, sustain the charges, by all means, they can be rearrested. You see, we have to look at this from all the angles that are required. It is very clear that, unlike in previous times where people held vigils and opened petition books to get some people free,
just mention
from justice.
Yes, so that we go.
In this particular case, the Ministry of Information itself has issued a statement clearly indicating the Attorney General's Department's desire to commence investigation into the circumstances that led to the release of or the advice that was proffered by the officer in the offices in Kumasi. Clearly, government does not support lawlessness. Nobody is being defended as because they are party people or alleged party people. The rule of law is being applied to its logical conclusion.
Are you telling us that no lobbying underground went on?
You see,
to get this case to arrive at this conclusion?
You see, the president has made it emphatically clear that lawlessness will not be tolerated under his watch, and that even if you were party chairman and you flout the law, you are going to be dealt with in accordance with law.
And Bugri and Nabu and Tiko have not been invited. When they say criminal matter, they know people who were aware. And president says, go and apologize. a party office. It's the rule of law.
You see,
very criminal matter, murder.
You see,
this is the rule of law.
He forgets that it was during his government era that they conducted an investigation into the murder of Mr. Mahama and subsequently arrested and arraigned some suspects before court. He forgets.
So if there's fresh evidence now, if there's fresh evidence.
What fresh evidence?
Okay, let's stay right on course.
Somebody has made.
Let's stay on course.
Yeah, we stay on course.
Let's stay on course and talk about this issue.
So, let me tell you about the Muntie.
Yeah, exactly. That's the angle. People would say NDC shouldn't even come into this matter.
At all.
Because Muntie 3 was dealt with differently. It wasn't dealt with like this.
No. Let me tell you the difference. In this Muntie 3. In Muntie 3, when they spoke against the court, they were invited by the court. The process went on. They were sentenced, they were convicted and sentenced, and were in jail. Now, the lawyers looked at the constitutional provision. That's a provision that has been given, that the mandate can be exercised by the president, and the president decided to use that provision, his constitutional right. In this matter, if the Attorney General has been given a statutory power, which is the
power.
Yes, go to the article
88, yes.
Yeah, no, wait. That is in the Muntie 3. They have been sentenced, they served the sentence, and remitted the sentence. In this matter, the Attorney General also has been given a statutory power. That is the noli prosequa. In this, it has not even gone through the process. The process has not even started that you put them in the box for them to say what they know or just prosecute whether it is shoddy, it was not even done.
Is this the first time? Is this the first time, though, that a case has gone to court that prosecutors have come to say, listen, we don't have anything, we can't prove, so let them go?
Yes.
Is this the first time?
It's novel for me.
First time?
No, it's novel because
the VVIP case saga, you forgot it.
The process is started. The process is started. People were in the box when they started.
And what happened?
Then if they see that, look, the evidence we have cannot, nobody is faulting that you cannot use that statutory power. Nobody is saying that the noli prosequa cannot be used. Nobody has questioned that. It is the way they have gone about it that people are not happy. The investigation, even police who have been given that power to investigate, the police are saying that we cannot identify the people. I was pregnant.
These were voluntary statements that were issued.
So if the Attorney General's office here in Accra or the Attorney General and her 2 deputies had said, oh, we know about this, then as lawyers, you wouldn't have asked because they were only exercising
because she has
a power that they have.
Yes, that is why the minority was saying that if that is the case, then we would have to look at it and test it whether you exercise that power candidly, you did it judicially. Under Article 296, there are provisions when you want to exercise those discretionary power. So they will see whether exercising the power of noli prosequa has done. It's the same thing that when the president also exercised that power, a lawyer, even from the NDC itself, went to court and said that he thinks that the discretionary power that has been exercised by the president was not right in the Muntie matter. I get it. So if the minority is saying that, look, we think the way you exercise this power that was granted to you, it's not right.
Has been exercised
especially when it has been admitted, the people knows that they are members of the party. How can the Attorney General prosecute her own party members? They have never denied that the Delta Force is not affiliated to the NPP. Now, leading members of the NPP have said that it will not happen. That anybody who will touch the Delta Force people, he will have problem with them.
But the people are before
now,
court
you see,
as we speak.
So how would you? Now, Attorney General would say a matter like this, which has generated much public debate and interest, once they were going to court, she will not find out, or her superiors people, director of prosecution will not find out and know that what is going on in the matter, and a subordinate in Kumasi, on her own volition, on her own accord, will just write a letter to the police. Even the letter she wrote to the police. Who gave the fiat to the police to prosecute the matter? It's the Attorney General. They are performing her duty. It is part of her duty that they are performing, which has been delegated to the police.
So what are you saying? The police should have cross-checked before or what?
It is the letter from Attorney General that came, that gave them the instruction, that emboldened them to tell the court that the Attorney General says there's no evidence.
But that's what they do.
So there's no evidence, so we will not prosecute it. And people are questioning how this power has been used.
Can I also ask this? This was an act.
What is the form of a nollie
Gloria Akufu, the Attorney General, per the statement issued by the Ministry of Information, has not exercised the power granted to her by the Constitution.
So that's why I asked the question.
The office of the Attorney General, public servants.
Yeah, but it's still the office of the Attorney General.
I agree. Yes. I agree. But you see, what the NDC is seeking to do is to tag the government. Political office holders.
Hang on, whichever way it is,
have not exercised that power.
It is still the office of the Attorney General.
Unlike the president who exercised the power of pardon in the Muntie case. Nana Akufo-Addo, the president, and his ministers of state at the Attorney General's department have not exercised the power of nollie prosecution.
How do you distinguish? Let's leave the presidency out, because in this matter, the presidency has not stepped in. But how do you distinguish the office of Madam Gloria Kufu and the Attorney General's office in Kumasi? How do you distinguish between the two?
You see, the distinction is in the nature of the appointment. Okay, Miss Gloria Kufu is the political head of the Attorney General's department. She's the principal legal advisor to government. And that her office in Kumasi has issued an opinion by way of letter.
It is still the office.
Yes,
it is still the Attorney General's office.
That is why she has deemed it imperative that this matter be investigated.
So I've got a question. Does it mean she's not in charge? She doesn't know what is happening in the other offices?
The Attorney General cannot know everything that is happening in all the offices across the 10 regions in Ghana at the same time.
So that is why...
Then she's not on top of her job.
She's not
because the buck stops with her.
Nobody... But of course, that is why she's taking administrative steps to investigate the circumstances of this particular letter.
So what
is your problem?
How can she say she doesn't know all this?
Can I ask
she's not on top of her job.
Can I ask... Yes. You know, somebody who is not a lawyer, somebody maybe and I'm sorry I'm using Angloga, but I can use Angloga because it's my village. Yes. Somebody is an Angloga and goes to steal a goat and is taken to court. And the prosecutors come to say we don't have any evidence or anything to go ahead and prosecute this person who's alleged to have stolen a goat. Would that office, would they have to communicate with the Accra office in this instance before they go ahead with something like that? I don't know how it works.
Definitely. When the matter comes, because the police have been given that power, and the criminal investigation department reports, the director there reports to the Attorney General on criminal investigation. So when in Anglogan you are saying like this, before the prosecutor goes to court, it will have gone through. No, it will have gone through. No, there are some cases.
Can you imagine?
No, there are some cases that the police have that power. If the police are not sure about it, they refer it to the Attorney General's office in Ho. They will refer to it that this is the matter that has come. We are not too clear about our capacity how to prosecute it. We want an advice. That's why all the time the police will tell you that
what happened in this particular instance.
They will tell you the matter is at the law office for an advice. So even before the police take a decision, unless it's within that their domain, when they look at their service instructions, because they have a service instruction.
So why are we questioning what has been done in Kumasi then?
what has been
Kumasi is
done,
a regional
you see,
office as well.
let me tell you, the reason why it's being questioned.
Politics. They just
is
want
this.
to play politics
You
with
see,
it.
Well, but the
oh,
Ministry
wait,
of
hold on,
Information
hold
has
on.
also agreed that something went
No,
wrong.
let's
Yeah, of
educate
course,
the
I agree.
public. Let's educate the public. It's not about NPP and NDC. We're educating the public. The reason why that is being questioned is that for Nelly Prosecutor to be signed, it has to be the Attorney General or a senior person who has been instructed.
Who issued the Nolly procedure?
Now, what she has done, Ministry of Information is even coming that they are not aware.
Of course.
Without any, so that has been done. Is it right or is flawed? By their own statement, what they are saying, that they are not aware. So what she has done over there is flawed because it is the law that you, then assistant state attorneys, anybody within the Attorney General's department can always write and that opinion and send it that let there be Nolly Prosecutor. That is why it's given to only few people within the Attorney General's department, and that should be by the Attorney General or the deputies should be aware that in this matter we are not interested in prosecuting that.
Can you both please
respectfully,
agree?
just a second.
Okay.
You see, to be fair, if we evaluate the content of the letter, this Marie-Louise Simmons
do you have
exercising her professional...
Do you have the letter with you?
I have a copy of the letter here.
Okay.
This Marie-Louise Simmons exercising her professional judgment. You can't fault her.
What's her position?
She is the senior state attorney. You can't fault
So that
professional
qualifies
judgment.
her to write a letter like that, right?
One moment.
It
You see,
Okay, let him land.
if you're evaluating her professional judgment, you cannot fault her. Now, what makes this issue of concern to government is because of the public interest in the matter and the seeming tag that, oh, the government has released their own, which clearly is not what happened.
Can I ask you?
Sure.
If you agree that she was exercising a duty that she's qualified to,
Absolutely.
then why would the government care what critics are saying?
No, it's not. That's why the investigation would determine whether, in fact, what she did was right.
But if you look at the statement, they're already
information.
agreeing that something went wrong.
Wrong.
You see, look, wait. This is emanating from the Attorney General's Department that probably the procedure with respect to matters of public interest was that she should have cross-checked or had clearance from the public, the Director of Public Prosecution, and that was not done. I'm not aware, but that would come out from the investigation.
So the fact that this case is of public interest, high public interest, required.
Yes.
Is that in our books? Is that in our books?
Of course, there are operational procedures that governs every office. I mean, I'm not sure your editorial team can take some decisions without recourse to senior management.
So if there is, then she should have known.
Well, that will be determined from the investigation. But the point is this, that it is clear that government has not influenced the release and or the opinion that was issued.
So that's the purpose the statement is serving.
Absolutely, yes.
To distinguish government from what has happened.
Mama, even if he, as he says, that it was a professional opinion or she's exercised a professional duty, why would the information or the letter press release from Ministry of Information, Attorney General, even question her conduct? She has exercised her professional duty. The same Attorney General is questioning her conduct. The statement they brought. That it should be investigation. You see, you are a senior lawyer.
Are very clear.
No, you are a senior lawyer. Don't allow this thing to cloud your judgment.
I'm saying
where your orientation. You see, they have questioned.
Can I also ask something? As lawyers, this was something that was done against the courts. Could the judge have also done something about this? This is different from this action. What could the judge?
This is a very good question. You see, now there has been precedent that has been said that when a contemptuous act has been against a court or even the judiciary,
because the judge was threatened.
Yes, even it was a contemptuous act. Now, there had been 2 procedures. There is no clear cut as to the procedure. That's why the Supreme Court itself, upon petition or itself, invited the people in the Muntie 3 and said, we will decide this matter. So the judiciary itself or the Ghana Bar Association or any person could have asked that these people should be brought before the court, where the court would determine it summarily, as it was done in the Supreme Court. There's also another case which says that when there is a contempt against the judiciary, it should be the Attorney General who will start the process. So Attorney General will now come and say that A, B, C, D, this is what they have done against the court. So we are bringing them for contempt. And where the thing happened in circuit court, so they cannot do that. It will be the High Court. That the Attorney General who have instituted a contempt action against the people. But the Attorney General didn't do this. That was one of the reasons why the Supreme Court in the Muntie was saying that the Attorney General should have instituted the action, but since she did not do it, we are taking it ourselves. So on this occasion, everybody was waiting to see whether the Attorney General will institute a contempt action against these people. She didn't do it.
But could that not be a separate? That could be separate from what is happening.
That could be a separate action also.
But it's not too late to do that as well.
That's why the Ghana Bar Association is saying that no, this has been 2 procedures that has been emanated from the judiciary that we have on our statute books or the procedures that the court itself can go or the Attorney General bring the action. The Attorney General in this case hasn't done that. The court itself is just waiting whether the court will decide one day that we will hold the people for contempt action against them. You see, so people are interested in this matter. It's not because it is a public interest matter. That's all. It has never happened before. It's a slap on the face of the judiciary. People in court, it will be a bad precedent, very dangerous precedent. People can now go to court when they disagree with the court, enter and say, we will not agree. Then people would come and say there's no evidence. Listen, I'll tell you, politicians would always take advantage of everything. Do you believe that a party, or if NDC comes to if NDC comes into power, and they also have the security or militia people, vigilante groups attached to them, and they also go and do the same thing? There has been precedent. They were not prosecuted. Why would the Attorney General, who would come, have that guts to say, I'm going to prosecute our own? That is the reason why people are saying that it is wrong. That you, Attorney General, knowing very well that these people are your party members, you do not want to do it, and you say there's no evidence. Then you set the precedent. So the next party that comes, government, will also say there's no evidence.
Honorable,
so we will not do it.
This is not over. They could be rearrested.
Of course.
Even this morning.
I mean, as an officer of the court, I condemned the actions of the persons who went into court to free these people. I mean, there is no denying that any such action on the judiciary should not be countenanced at all, and that whoever was involved should be brought to book. But in this particular instance, there were, from the letter, or at least as contained in the docket, there were 2 police officers in court on that day. One says that because the people stormed into court, his interest was to protect the judge. So he moved the judge into chambers, and that he did not see the people who had come into the courtroom to attack the court. Now, the other police officer, who also volunteered a statement, is saying that, well, I cannot identify these 8 people who have been put before court.
Not even one.
And charged. Yes, that is the evaluation or the information that was contained in the docket.
No face was registered in his mind.
That is the thing. So the question is, has proper investigations been conducted to get the people who, in fact, went into this court?
Or people have been influenced to say they can't identify anyone.
I'm not in
let's
a position
just oppose what he's just said. What is in the opinion that there were only 2 policemen in court that day. juxtapose it with what the police told the public, that there were more than 5 policemen in the court.
But this docket
the same police, the same police are saying there were only 2. And on that day, they told us that there were more police people within the court and within the precincts of the court.
So with that said,
police people are coming
with that said, who do we blame? Who do we blame for this?
The police who did the investigation. So the police who are giving us one.
Attributing
who do you blame?
This is common sense.
Who do you blame?
That the investigation, proper investigation should be conducted.
Yes.
To bring the actual people
to
justice.
So you agree that the police have not done a good job?
Based on the docket and the advice as contained in the letter that I have seen, I can only draw the conclusion that possibly the investigations were not properly conducted.
Okay. Now this issue, happened in Kumasi. Let's give the people of Kumasi to have a say on this subject. And so here are voices
and don't draw
from
the Attorney General in.
God free them because I don't think they do have the enough evidence for that. And if they are free them, then it's the right to free them because they don't know whether they were the people who make that noise there. So I think they are right. They are doing the best thing. That's what.
Okay, concerning this issue, the issue it's very delicate. I don't know why the court should allow these people go. Because one, we have a constitution, the 1992 constitution, that takes up everything. This constitution is empowered by everyone, irrespective of your money or anything. So I just don't understand why they should allow these people go scot-free, even if it's your government or if it's your government in power. Why should this be? We shouldn't take this into consideration. We should jail them so that people know, say, oh, the constitution is working, everything is okay.
The Delta Force, maybe they've suffered for the party, so they should have also helped them. Though what they did wasn't right, but at least they did something for the party, so they should have also been in at least some position in the party. Maybe that's why they did that.
So you think it's right for the court to free them?
Not really, but if the courts were having some evidence, they should have jailed them. But they left them because they don't have any evidence to it. That's right.
Oh, at the end of the Delta Force need the phone, they need to we need the Ghana day. Now, her government will be as the Omoye in the Omoya, my say, so. Say Obiam Bonnie and I say Metrosican and Mokun. Many judges for no can come Jolly on 25 years because the Omoye and the Sunni for so why by a banner and say no chase could do Quasia.
I can't see. It's too.
Good morning.
Background to share with you on this Delta Force issue. March 24, 2017, 200 members of the Delta Forces violently stormed the offices, attacked Regional Security Coordinator and moved him out of office. Georgia J was manhandled in the presence of helpless police officers. That video trended. March 27, fast forward 2017, some members of Delta Force present themselves to the police and processed for courts. April 6, 2017, 13 Delta Force members remanded after appearance in court. While reactions to that, widespread condemnation, NDC, UN, civil society groups, general public, etc. Suspects subsequently arrested and put before court. AG sets them free, citing lack of evidence. That's where we are with this case now.
Said AG.
But that's the twist that is unfortunate.
It's not
it's interesting.
It's unfortunate.
It is Attorney General.
The way we're twisting it to give it political or some coloration.
I want us to end the conversation with something clear in our minds. Have we both agreed that the officer representing the AG in Kumasi exercised a duty that she's qualified to do? Is that clear, Mr. Daudu?
I know that officer personally. I know her very well. I know how diligent she is. I know she will not take chances. If it is that what she has done, but I don't think, my point is that she will not do it without recourse to her superiors. So if her superiors now are saying that it was exercised without us knowing, then it is flawed. I think that it is wrong. In as much as they have the power of nolle prosequi, and they know there are case laws which says that it should be the Attorney General or authorized person by her who would have to issue that statement or the letter. Yes, if you look at it, there are cases which says that no officer can just come and send. There should be a signed letter from Attorney General which says that we are no more interested in this matter, we will not prosecute it. Or it should be signed for the Attorney General by an officer. And it should be an officer above, and there's a level that you have to do that. So that is why the investigation that was coming.
Yeah, but I'm thinking about your theory. Looks like she's being left to hang.
That is my, because I can't fathom how. She's a senior state attorney. She's a middle class. She's not at the senior level within the Attorney General's department yet. So that is why it beats my imagination that she can take a decision involving a matter like this without a recourse. So now that they are saying it without reference to them and don't have an idea about this nolle prosequi, I think the investigation they've called for is welcome. Let's look at it in as much as so that nobody is sacrificed. If actually she did it with the consent of others, then she might not be sacrificed. But if she did it on her own volition, I think that she has to be brought.
Do you expect that this investigation will bring all these questions that you're asking? Would we get actually to know a response to everything that you're asking this morning?
Definitely, when they are doing the investigation, and the Constitution has granted us right to information. So we will ask the questions, and they will answer. They will ask the questions. That's a nice way for the citizens to know. So when we ask the question as citizens, they will provide us the answer.
Mr. Mensah, I'll ask you the same.
Let me just read the concluding bit of the letter before
the concluding bit is a reassurance. No, I like the top, the first paragraph. That's where it's not clear. Is it the decision that she made, or is the fact that this is a case of huge public interest, and so the national office should have been noted? Well,
I'm referencing the letter that the Marie-Louise wrote to the police prosecution department. She made reference to the letter dated 25th April that had come from the police, evaluated the facts, the evidence, and concluded this way. Despite and this is a quote, despite the unfortunate and despicable incident that occurred, the manner in which it occurred, the investigations conducted, and the evidence available makes it extremely impossible to successfully prosecute any of the suspects herein. I therefore advise that the charges of disturbance of court and resisting arrest and rescue against the suspects must be dropped for lack of evidence to prosecute.
Can you please hand over your phone to me to read the entire?
Very well. Sure.
Okay.
Sure.
Thank you. So
advice to the police or her superiors.
To the police.
So this is the letter. I refer to your letter with a reference number and give the reference number dated 25th April 2017. The facts of the case. Can I read the letter, please? The facts of the case are that the complainant is a police detective at the regional CID office in Kumasi, Ashanti. The suspects are a businessman, barber, shoemaker, information center operator, trader, taxi driver, electrician, and electrical welder, respectively. With the exception of the fourth and fifth suspects, all the other suspects admit that they are members of the group Delta Force of the NPP. All the suspects reside in Kumasi. On the 6th of April 2017, 13 members of the Delta Force group were standing trial at the Circuit Court Kumasi KMA for the offense of assault of public officer causing unlawful damage and rioting. The 13 accused persons were inside the courtroom. The trial judge was Her Honor Mary Century. In the courtroom were various persons, including there's a number to a sergeant, so Asagri Alberts and Evans Kuguajo, who are court warrant officers attached to the said court to keep order and protect the sitting judge. So this is confirmation that there were 2 police officers in the court. In the course of the court proceedings, the sitting judge ordered that the 13 accused persons must be remanded into police or person custody, that will be police custody, for 2 weeks to reappear in the 20th of April 2017. After the judge's pronouncement, the accused became very furious and openly showed disregard to the judge's decision. They objected to the judge's decision. At that moment, a large crowd of persons, some of which were also members of the Delta Force group, were outside the courtroom observing proceedings. After the judge's order to remand, a section of the crowd outside entered the courtroom and openly, can I get a continuation of it? Yeah. So I'm reading this letter from the AG's office to the court. The reason, oh, and this is very long.
Yeah, it is.
Okay, so disregarded the judge's ruling and with force tried to free the accused persons in the dock whilst causing a lot of commotion. The 2 court warrant officers and other policemen on duty then tried to prevent the crowd from entering the courtroom and also immediately protected the judge and issued her into her chambers for protection. The 2 policemen also tried to prevent other accused persons from escaping from custody. Okay. The 13 accused persons escaped from custody during the commotion together with their members who thronged the courtroom to aid their escape. Later, a police reinforcement group arrived, but all the accused and their supporters had escaped from the court premises. The suspects herein were later arrested in and around the Asafo interchange in Kumasi by the police as members of the group that aided the 13 accused to escape. All 8 suspects volunteered their investigation caution statement to the police after their arrest. And then the evidence, but this is quite long, so I'm not sure I'll be able to share all of it, but thank you very much for allowing us into this. So this is step by step. It's not like my reading. It doesn't show that she just arrived at a certain conclusion. She actually puts down exactly what happened as it happened and then arrives at a conclusion. So if they can't identify the people, how do they prosecute them, Mr. Daudu?
No, you see, it's the police who does the investigation.
Yet you are blaming God.
Now they do the investigation for Attorney General to prosecute. Now, when it comes to Attorney General, even if looking at the docket, the Attorney General can instruct the police to do ABCD, to go and gather more evidence.
Is there a CCTV camera in the courtroom?
I'm not sure there is.
No.
We don't have cameras in our courtrooms?
We don't have cameras in our... I think it is time we would have to look at it.
Do you have cameras in the new court?
No, we don't have... We have cameras within the precinct or the corridors, but I don't think within the court itself you have cameras. So it is time we would have to look at that. I believe that was the novelty we saw in the petition, where the cameras were allowed into the courtroom to demystify some of the things that happen in court for everybody.
Yeah, but you could also not TV cameras, but you could also have your own CCTV so that in cases like these, you would be able to... I think this is more
of a security and management issues that will have to be looked at in reforming the judiciary and all. These are things that will have to be looked at, that will move from that conservative position always that justice, people see it as a mystery. It is not. So that we demystify this for people to know that this is the process, this is how it is done. And I think so. I believe that, look, you've read this. She's looked at the opinion. She's given an opinion that has been made. And AG or the government has assured us that the Attorney General is conducting investigation into all the circumstances. The good thing is that they were only discharged. No, government says they are going to look at it.
No, but it looks to me, it looks to me as what is being looked at is the decision taken without recourse to advice from higher authority.
Yes.
It's the decision.
Yes.
It's not.
Because the nolli prosequa cannot be effected or issued by any person within the Attorney General's department. It has to come from the top.
Do you honestly expect anything to change? Do you expect a rearrest? Do you expect this to be overturned, if you like?
Posterity will have to judge. Posterity will judge. So we will live and see what they will do.
Okay.
And if there are questions,
Mr. Master, we have to wrap up. Do you expect this to be overturned?
Well, to the extent that I expect the perpetrators of this action to be brought to book, proper investigations ought to be conducted, and the right persons arraigned before court and punished. But I'm comforted that at least we are all clear that government did not do anything untoward in this matter.
It's so much.
But do we expect?
Of course, because that is what you guys have sought to push out there. That government, through the Attorney General, has done something untoward with a view to protecting its own. Clearly, that is not what has happened in this instance. I wish to assure the people of Ghana that this government really is working to ensure that justice prevails in all matters.
Will somebody be punished for this?
Of course, I mean, if it is established that some deliberate actions were done to release them, then of course some punishment ought to follow.
All right. Thank you, gentlemen, for
Mama,
time.
you know what? The law is a double-edged sword. It can be used for good. It can be used for evil.
This is not.
Let us know how we will use the law. Whether we use it for good, for the good of the people, or we use it for the evil, posterity will judge and see that it was used for evil, or it was used for good.
I want to remind you, I want to remind you, Mr. Dawood, this is not part of it. I want to remind you that your government didn't do anything about the BNI, so we're still where we are.
BNI?
The same BNI that didn't allow you to see your clients when you wanted to see them.
Oh, no, yes, that is why I hold.
No reforms.
No, that's why I hold the BNI before court. You see, I hold them before court and said, and you know, surprisingly, when the BNI, the director and others, I told him in their face that the day this government will lose power, you will go. You see, that's. You have to do things professionally. And lo and behold, unfortunately, when we left, he even left before he was hunted out. But if he had done professional job and this thing, I think he would not have left. So it's a lesson for all of us.
Thank you, gentlemen. Thank you, gentlemen, for the law lesson this morning here on our show. Thank you for the insights and your thoughts. Thanks for sharing. That's AM Talk. It's World AIDS Vaccine Day. We have a conversation. If you're in the Volta region, the Bonahafu region, remember the prevalence rates for 2016. The figures are really high in the Volta region and in the Bonahafu region. We'll talk about why. We'll talk about vaccines next here on our show. Stay with us.